we're in the home stretch. One more photo to test out. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the photo we had to see if this one works better. So I'm going to, in my transparency, I'm going to set it to the same luminosity, and I'm going to reduce the opacity and also do a feather. So I'm going to go down to stylize and feather that so it blends in nicely. You don't see the edges. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger so you can see the texture on it. And okay, so luminosity is not working. Let me go ahead and send this to the back. So I know that's all the way in the background there. And let's do a couple of different ones. Let's try an overlay. Okay, so overlay, let's make it a little stronger so we can see what effect that blending mode is having. I like hard light a lot, so let's see if hard light looks. It's just experimenting with the different blending modes, which you can also do in Photoshop. Soft light is looking the best so far. So thank you for joining me on this kind of adventure. I know it was kind of a long chapter in this class, but I just wanted to show you my raw design process. It's not a matter of coming up with the perfect layout, using the grid right away. It's more complicated than that, and it involves kind of some brainstorming and blocking out of your type to kind of find out what works for you and what works for the client. These are three very different types of projects. And I'm going to do one more thing, and that's going to be able to export these files. So let's say we chose one final one. So what we're going to do is go ahead and delete the first one and delete the third one, and let's say this is the one we really want to adapt around. And we might need multiple versions depending on if they like that small copy or not. So I'm going to delete that artboard, and I'm going to delete this artboard, and we're left with one left. And let's go to File, Document Setup, and somehow our bleeds got knocked off during the process of creating new artboards. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and make sure the bleeds are on. So I just went to Document Setup and have 1/8 bleed all the way around. We're going to bring everything. This is going to be for print. We're going to send this off to a printer to print maybe 10,000 of these. So we're going to just make sure everything goes off to the edge. Where we have it right now is exactly where it's going to be printed. So this is just extra left over for the printer to work with, just in case the printer machine doesn't work perfectly. I'm just getting the direct selection tool since this is a cropped photo, and I'm just bringing it all the way to the edge. All right, that's off the edge. It's going to take this pattern, make that go off the edge, and down to here, and that's it. We've added bleed to this product, or to this flyer. So before we export, there's two final things if we're going to get this printed that we need to do. We need to create outlines with all live text. So we can hand select each item, each text item. We can right click and then we can create outlines. Or if there's a ton of text on this document, you could do a little shortcut and go to Select, go down to Object, and go down to All Text Objects. So it's going to automatically select all text objects. You can right click and create outlines. The printers always require you to create outlines on all documents to make sure that text is not editable and it's kind of final. So that's one step. And then also you want to make sure your poster is in CMYK mode. You don't want to have RGB mode because that's for print. And since we're kind of designing this poster to be used for digital and print, that's why I currently have it set to RGB. So all we're going to do is go ahead and get our document switched to the CMYK color mode. So we're going to go to File. We're going to go down to Document Color, and there's CMYK. We're just going to switch it over to CMYK mode. And it's going to automatically convert all of our colors. If we need to go in and fine tune any of the colors to make it match what we had in RGB, we can. Sometimes it'll darken the colors a little bit because they're different color profiles. So if you ever wanted to switch it back, go to File, Document Color Mode, and you can switch back to RGB for when you do digital documents. All right, so now we're ready to export it. We're going to go to File, Save As. I like to do PDFs because it keeps them in vector format. So we're going to go down to PDF, click on Save, and this is the Illustrator default. So go ahead and click on Illustrator Default and I'll show you how to kind of export this as a press ready document. So I like to unclick Preserve Illustrator Editing Capabilities because this means that someone can access the layers and edit this. But the problem is it makes it a really big file size, and the printer does not need to go in and edit this. You've already done all the edits. So go ahead and click this off because it's going to make the file size a lot smaller, which is good. Go down to compression. Don't worry, the default's fine. Marks and bleed. We want the trim marks clicked. So just click on trim marks and it's going to show them where to trim the bleed. So include the document bleed settings, which we set up when we started the document. Everything else, fine. Output, don't worry about it. A lot of these, don't worry about it for right now, unless the printer has a particular request. Okay, so you can save in a particular format. 2003 is something that I've always done, the 1A, but I've been doing none for years and I've had no complaints. So go ahead and click Save As, and we are going to go ahead. It says, saving this document with Preserve Illustrator Editing Capabilities turned off. Don't worry about it. The printer does not need to edit this. So we click on Save, and we have our PDF ready to rock and roll. Here's our poster, and you're going to see the crop marks added. That's where the bleed, where they know to trim off the bleed that we added. So let's go ahead and do 50%, and we can see our final document as a PDF. Go ahead and test that out. So 25%, there's our final document, ready to go to the printer. So let's say I want to adapt this now to digital mediums. So I'm going to go to File, Document Setup. I don't really need bleed, so I'm just going to take it down to 0. And I'm going to save it as a JPEG. So let me do the File. Don't want to do Save As. If I'm doing something for the web, it's Export. So File, Export, Export as a JPEG. And just like that, we have a JPEG. And then we have a JPEG and a PDF, and we can resize this. We can go to File, Document Setup, Edit Artboards. We can add a new artboard and make it an Instagram post just by making it 1,000 by 1,000. And we can copy and paste that and be able to adapt our design to a different layout, maybe removing a particular element to make it work. And so we did this poster design because now we can scale it up to a larger size or a smaller size like the Instagram. So I'm going to go to Document Setup. I'm going to scale this higher to a big poster design. So we had a flyer, and now just like this, I just highlighted all my elements. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag, and I'm going to be able to adapt this to a large poster size very, very easily.